right, demonstration of perseverance and strength there. We had some serious technical difficulties. We had some serious technical difficulties, but up and running, up and running. Yeah.
Help me. I see trouble coming on. Help me. Somebody help me.
Yeah, Dougie came in and helped me. Dougie came in and helped me. Spicy came in and helped me too. Yeah.
I'm surrounded by music. The rhythm in my head. The sweet tunes they're playing got to move my body.
All right. I see my buddy.
Morning, Carlisle.
My buddy Doug. Yes. It's good to know that you're always around. Dr. Leacock is also there. All right.
How are you? How are you today?
Boy, it seems like, boy, I don't know. I get like a little bit anxious when these things go bad, because you spend most of the week putting this thing together, and then all of a sudden, you come outside and you have a flat tire, and you have no spare.
Yeah. I know the feeling, but somehow or the other, it levels itself back out.
Perseverance and strength. Well, we don't see Captain Mac, and also, my guess, well, boy, like everything that was supposed to go, end up getting stuck on that one day. So, let me see if I see Mac now. Yeah, we got Mr. Mac. Good morning,
Yes.
Captain Mac. How are you, sir?
Good morning. I'm
Yes.
doing fine.
Morning,
Thank you.
Mark.
Good morning, Doug. Is Doc
Okay.
on? I think Ord might be listening, so let me take an opportunity to wish him a speedy and full recovery, him and Mrs. Valentine.
Yeah.
We'll indeed say a prayer for you both.
Yeah.
And you're missed, my friend, Ord. You're missed.
Yeah. We miss.
Yeah,
we
very
miss.
much so. Very much so. I mean, I brought it. I think I brought it up in the chat that that we hadn't heard from him for some
Yeah.
time.
Yeah.
You brought him up that he gone MIA. Yes. And but these things happen from time to time. That's when we breathe in the breath of life. You run into these things, and that's okay. That's okay.
Yep.
Because that is the road that we have to travel from time to time. Every day won't be Sunday.
Yep.
Or in this case,
and congrats on the good news, Doug. God is good.
Man. God is great. God is wonderful. Blessings and mercies come down from the ancestors on top of us.
Amen.
I was listening as I listened to the program earlier. As this program started, I listened, and I was very intrigued that bigger is listening the Sunday program too. And I am one of the people who is glad that people listen to the program, because whether you like it or not, whether you agree or not, I believe you should listen the program. And I know one of my friends here in Brooklyn, he is a religious listener of all these programs. And one of the things that I sincerely agree with is that you must talk, you must speak. When you speak, you must speak from a point of information. And for instance, I will say certain things on the radio, and I would not say certain things on the radio. I don't believe in second-hand information from somebody else unless I could verify that information from a third or sometime a fourth and a fifth party before I could go with it, right? I think that is the journalism skills that journalists use all over the world. They must verify. But if you hear it firsthand, you don't have to verify. And I agree with Bigger on Sunday with the program, and and it is an interesting program that I listen to every Saturday, every Sunday, and certain prediction that I make off screen on a Saturday night with certain groups that I deal with, and I see that it manifests
It manifests.
itself
All right,
sometime on Sunday.
stick up in the dog. We got somebody on the magic chat. Good afternoon, you live.
Good afternoon or good morning.
Hey, good morning, good morning. How you doing, boy? So much stress,
Morning.
so much stress. Hey, time is yeah. Good morning, Mr. Fox. How you doing?
Good. I want to ask Doug if he know. I know the Prime Minister is in town. If he's gonna have if he having any town hall meeting today.
I don't know. I don't know if I could speak for Doug. I don't think.
Ask Doug. He should know. Doug Howard would know.
I think let him answer you. Doug, answer him now.
No, I don't know. I don't know, Mr. Fox, and I'm not really interested because I have done my part with the Prime Minister and his town hall meeting. So that has come to an end from Doug Howard's point of view. So I'm not really interested in whether he here or not. I don't know, and I didn't have no information because I didn't seek no information. To be very honest.
No,
Because
Carmelo is gonna
I
be.
kind of passed that stage, Mr. Fox. I passed that stage with the Prime Minister. I went to about 20 of his town hall meeting since he attained office. I went there on different scopes. I was one of the first people to organize a protest against him coming and speaking, and I did that at least 4 or 5 times. I was one of the first people who went to his town hall meeting when he used to have it at Cafe Omar, and then he had it at the place at 95th and Church, and so on and so forth. So I've been going the thing for years, and basically it's the same nonsense you're hearing, the same rhetoric you're hearing over and over again. Just the same food, but just on a different plate. I don't really interested.
Carmelo is gonna be on this Sunday program tomorrow, Minister of Finance.
Yeah, I know. That I heard.
See, it's no love lost. I mean, we can give him a little promotion. Yes.
Yeah.
Minister of Finance is going to
Mr.
be in the
Fox,
program tomorrow. Yeah.
But Mr. Fox, I would like to say this. You know, I heard you on a program ridiculing our program on Nice Radio, and you was on the sports program with Dougie that people don't give you no chance to talk. But Mr. Fox, you are disingenuous when you say that, because look, we haven't even outlined what we are going to do today, and you already calling and we interact with you. Carl, I'll take the time out to stop me from what I'm saying, to interact with you, and this happen on a weekly basis. But then you say we just cut you off and we treat you bad, and you had my good friend Mr. Bramble supporting you with what you say. It's not true. It's not true. And I think you should apologize to Nice Radio for that, because it's not true. It's not true. It's not true. I heard you with Dougie.
Well, what happens sometimes?
And I think
you're
disingenuous. I think you're disingenuous if you continue on that path.
Yeah,
what
good.
happens sometimes? I might say something for 30 seconds, and then somebody interject, and they go on for 10, 15 minutes, and I can't get back in. If I do get back in, it's a different subject. I no longer, I don't get to finish. Sometimes I'm saying something, I don't get to finish, and Doug the Freitas might interject, and he's going on for 5, 7, 10 minutes. And when I do get a chance to talk, it's something else I have to go to. I can't get to finish whatever I was saying.
But
Mr. Fox, to
this program, and
you have four panelists. Four panelists on the program. So when everybody make their contribution, I'm on for 10, 15 minutes while I only get 30 seconds worth of conversation.
That is not true.
Well,
that is not true. That has never happened. That has never happened. Mr. Fox, I don't know. I'm not forcing you to apologize, okay? But I'm having some technical difficulties here, so understand I'm
Mm-hmm.
under fire. But we have a significant program to do today, and
Like
uh,
I remember talking about sandals. But before I finish, Doug, the Freitas go coming. He talking about INS. He talking about agriculture. He talking about
see that
how
goes.
many
You see
miles of roads.
that goes with what I've said to you
And I didn't get to finish.
a couple years, a couple weeks ago, that you got upset with me. You know, it's difficult when you're walking in shoes in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. You understand? Your priorities are different.
Mm.
You hear me? It's different. It's different when you go to the fruits and vegetables stand, little corner store, and the little corner store, and they got 4 pieces of ginger for $10. You understand me? Things are different when you're here. Is there? Boy,
Well,
yesterday.
everybody
Let
not
me
gonna
tell you
say that.
something. Let me explain something else to you.
Some people. Go ahead.
I
Go ahead. Go ahead.
I had to buy used tires yesterday. Usually I buy new tires because I think it makes sense. But I had to buy used tires yesterday. You know how much is a used tire now in St. Vincent and Grenadines? $135. $125.
Mm.
You hear me? A used tire.
But COVID has prices have gone up all over the world because of COVID. I used to do oil change for $50 before COVID. Now it's $85. I used to buy bacon shack for $9. Now it's $18 for bacon shack, 100% increase. So things have gotten more expensive since the pandemic.
But
All over the world, not just in Vincent.
you see. But when you like right now, you be thinking about putting on a coat for fall. You understand? I should not necessarily call your program and tell you should wear shorts and t-shirts because
uh,
I ain't walking in your shoes. But like I said, we really have an important program to deal with today,
mm.
and you're taking up the
All
time.
right, so
Carl,
thanks
may
All
for
I
right?
may
giving me
I
the time.
may I just respond, Mr. Fox, before you
Go
go?
ahead. Go ahead. Yeah.
Made a very, very important and I think necessary and appropriate point that maybe the listeners are not necessarily interested in things like sandals. Oh yeah, we can discuss these things because sandals is part of a broader economic push by this government. But most of the families in St. Vincent are concerned about where their next bread comes from. How are they going to send their children to school? And so on and so forth. You talk about the increase in prices after COVID. Understand this. It's impacting here in the United States, but mostly because of private corporations jacking up their prices and price gouging. But at the same
You
time,
do that in St. Vincent too?
salaries have increased here in the United States. I mean,
Yes,
a lot of states have raised their minimum wage. What happened to St.
of
Vincent and the
course.
Grenadines? So we
You're right
have
about
to,
that.
we can't compare apples and oranges sometimes, right? If the cost of living in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, we know have jumped drastically since COVID. What is the government doing to alleviate that? Those are the pertinent questions that we need to ask, right? Not to
And
disrespect you or anything, because I do like your contributions. You bring a great perspective. You even provide a lot of knowledge to folks like me who are a little bit younger and who may not remember certain things happening. And I do appreciate that. But there are times when, and I think, to be honest with you, I listened to your presentation on the sports highlight program, and I don't think it was on really, really unwarranted, your personal attack on Alex.
no, Alex was interjecting. Doug allowed him to speak, but he was
I
keep going
really,
in and, and,
hey,
and stopping me.
Fox, oi! I done. You hear? Time
Yeah,
is
let's
tight.
let's let's
Let me
move
just say one
forward.
more
Let's
thing
move
before
Time
I
is
forward.
leave.
tight. Yeah, sorry.
Let's
Later.
move forward. Yeah.
Nice radio. Good afternoon. Good. Hello, 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 hello. Good afternoon.
Carlisle,
Uh huh.
Gunny ain't say, man.
Hey, Gunny, how's it going?
You must not entertain that fella. I am going to attack him and tell him, keep off of Nice Radio. Leave the people, when you all have your topic set up how you all want to do it, he interjects every time and try to veer you all off the topics.
Hey.
He does it in his sports program. That's why me and Alex have confusion. Do not veer people from what they plan to do. Keep off. If you can make a substantial contribution, keep off the program.
All right.
I gone.
Thanks.
Thank you, Donnie.
Take it. All righty.
Morning.
Morning,
I
Doc.
Good morning, Doc.
Morning,
I
Doc.
didn't
To the
realize
top.
Morning,
Gunny was still alive. I want to be still living in Montreal. It's nice to hear Gunny voice.
All right, boy.
Could Carla,
Uh-huh.
you're going on to your other program right away because just one medical caveat.
All right, go ahead. Mhm.
So simply so this is we've been on this thing about cancer and so forth, and Doug, glad to hear that your nodes your prostate specimens are all clear. That's a good sign,
Nice.
right?
Wonderful.
Now, we have spoken before about cancer, cervical cancer here, but for women in particular, and I just want to bring this forward, yeah? There is a very common cancer and it's very silent, and a lot of women have it and they don't find out until they're late, all right? So I just want to say, right? We have this thing, oh, you're getting fat, your tummy big, you look like you're pregnant, right? Men tend to have develop a fat abdomen as they get older. Women probably not so. If somebody tells you that and so forth, and you're a woman, you should probably go and get it checked out and go and see a gynecologist. That you have a woman in your uterus and you have two ovaries. And ovarian cancer is very common. I think it's about 1 in 40, and it is silent. You don't get signs and symptoms of it. And you get lots of other things. So you have bloating, you have things like indigestion, etc. and so forth. You may still have a bit of gas, etc. and so forth. But if your friend remarked to you, especially if you over 40 years old, and again, 40 seems to be the cutoff age for a lot of these things, but it can happen to young women as well. And you think that your tummy is getting big and large, and people telling you you're getting fat, just go to your gynecologist and say, please check and see if my ovary is normal size and so forth. Because you could have ovarian masses. Not all are cancerous, by the way. A lot of times you just have big ovarian cysts in the abdomen that could be taken out, and that's it, end the story, and so forth. But please go and get it checked because ovarian cancer kills. It's very silent. It's the only cancer I know that at stage 1, it is already spread. We spoke about the stage 1, 2, 3, and 4 for cancers. When you have ovarian cancer, right, stage 1 has stage 1A, which is a single ovary is involved. Stage 1B is two ovaries involved. And then stage 1C, where cancer cells are already spread into the fluid in the tummy. So please go. If you're a woman past the menopause or even before the menopause and you have abdominal bloating, you have these funny signs of indigestion, um, and a bit of constipation, etc. It for sound like it's a bowel problem. It may not be a bowel problem. It may that you have your ovaries are not doing well.
Thank you, Doc.
All right, thank you, Doc. Well,
Thank-
I'm trying to line up the other guests, but
Mm.
for some reason. All right, let me try another way. And oh wow. Some music
Yeah.
while
While you line that up, Carl, I
uh,
like to
Mm.
I like to tell I like to say to the people in the southern states, they are
Mm.
they are they are being brutalized by Helena.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
and as of now, I think Helena has took at least 51 lives here
Mm.
in the states already,
Mm.
and cause a couple of $1 billion worth of damage. I mean,
Mm.
billion B.
Yep.
And I said to my friends in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, especially my friends and my family in Union Island, who was devastated so bad by Beryl. If we had the land mass that Beryl had stayed over the land for that period of time, what a havoc that would have reaped, like
Right.
they're doing here in the United States.
I didn't hear about this hurricane until last night. I heard him saying that there's a hurricane approaching the United States. How come that was so quiet? So none of the Caribbean countries
because
were affected then.
no,
Because
no, no, it
it
developed
it
right on
developed
the
over
equator.
24 hours. It was like really quick. I mean, over 12
Yes,
hours, I think, probably, Doug. Yep.
yes. Well,
Yep.
it go from just a tropical wave over Cuba and Jamaica, and soon as
All
it
right.
enter the Gulf, where the warm water is,
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
it come up to category 1 to category 4
4.
within about 18 hours.
Yep.
But you see that that's a new phenomenon there because before they used to come across and they strengthen as they come
Right.
across and now what
Yep.
you have now is it coming across as a tropical depression and then strengthening in the things. So climate change is a very real thing. Eh? A
Yes.
couple of
Exactly.
years ago we had a similar thing where it went all the way up the eastern seaboard
All right.
of America
Let me
and
just
then came
let me
across
just.
back to the Atlantic to Europe and affected Britain.
Yep.
So just
Yes.
bear with it.
Hello.
Yeah, yes, yes, yeah. Good.
All right.
Good morning, Marty. Yes. Yeah. Go
Good
ahead.
morning.
Go ahead.
Hi, Matty. Good morning. It's McArthur. How you doing?
Good
Yes.
morning. Good morning.
Good
Good
morning.
morning.
Give a little plug for the. What's the what's the bar name again? Midnight. What's the name of the your establishment again? What's the name of the uh,
Business?
yeah, the name of the business. Yes.
After that.
After Dark, yes. Marty from After Dark in Layou, yes,
Okay.
yes. Tell me, you have any sauce today, Marty? Yeah, again, your plugs
So,
like rain.
very hot. It's now off. Ready to eat.
You have what? You have what? You have sauce?
Sauce is ready to eat.
All
All
righty.
Hot
right.
off, hot off the press.
mm,
All
So,
right.
mm.
Carl, I'm going to put in his order now.
Yep.
Okay, okay. I'll
Yes.
put it up for when you come down.
All right. All right. Okay. Yeah. Put the champion on the phone for me, please. Put the champion on
Mm.
the phone.
Yeah, let me say good here because I'm a little bit in the kitchen.
What was
Okay,
that?
Matty. All right.
All
Good to
right.
hear you, Matty.
Okay.
All righty. All right.
Hello, my brother.
Yes. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning,
Good
Captain
morning,
Sturdy.
Mr. Hazelwood.
Yes.
Good
Yes.
morning, my brother. How are you? I
Good.
listening
I'm
the whole
doing fine.
morning.
Doing fine.
Yes, yes,
Mm.
yes. Well, we having some technical difficulties, but we're working with what we have. Um, um, uh, I came today. We came. I came and sat and spent some time with you today. This week. When it was Wednesday.
Thursday.
Wednesday.
Wednesday
I
or
think I
Thursday.
spent some time with you.
Mm-hmm.
And
Uh,
let me say, besides the football story, I got an insight in you where somebody whispered something to me while I'm talking to you. Somebody passed by and say, "Hey, you must come with your camera one of these days." And he does go in the kitchen and make your own tea. He does go in the kitchen and make your own breakfast.
mm.
That sense of independence is what I'm calling especially about today. But let me
yeah.
read a little bit as to what I submitted to the Vincentian. We didn't make the newspaper, but let me read what I submitted to the Vincentian. The Layou Cultural and Sports Association is once again revamping its sporting activities in the central Leeward community. This initiative is through soccer, as 8 teams compete at the Layou playing field for a trophy in the name of William Stuardie Hazelwood, now blind and presumably in his 80s. According to Wade Jackson, the decision to honor Mr. Hazelwood was a simple one, as Stuardie was an integral building block to where the playing field stands currently. The
Mm.
Vincentian caught up with Stuardie at his residence to document the journey through the eyes of the now blind Mr. Hazelwood.
Mm.
Seemingly staring without focus, Stuardie
Yeah.
recalled the area representative, Mr. Arthur T. Woods, Labour Party stalwart Sammy Ballantyne, in appeasing his constituents, negotiated to purchase the property from Miss St. Hill in 1977. He
Mm-hmm.
recalled
Yeah.
when the announcement was made by Dingy Exeter, no sports, then the Sports Association president at a community gathering, the meeting mash up as men and women armed themselves with cutlasses, axes, and hoe, and in a fevered frenzy to clear the land of many coconut and lime trees. He chuckled at the memories, saying, "Man drink coconut water till their belly bust." Woods also secured the use of a bulldozer from Public Works, driven by a man from Connery.
I remember
Upon,
that.
upon the commencement of its use, it was discovered that huge boulders were in the dirt and presented a further hindrance. Much to the dismay to Stuardie, Arthur Williams and Grafter Isaacs moved the bulldozer to Vermont, which brought Woods to physical tears. Longwater OTI, saying, "Every time I do something for my people, them, Labour Party in brackets, fight me down." The grass planted was another community effort where men and women dug grass patches and using a handcart to carry them. Stuardie was appointed groundsman with a promised salary of $14 per month. But Stuardie said to me, "Mr. Douglas, I never collected 14 cents. Part of his duties was to water the grass using a bucket, using the nearby river. A sprinkler system was later added. Years later, Mr. Abbott, overseer from Miss St. Hill, came with 2 white men, stating that the property was not paid for, and started taking measurements to sell residential lots. But swift action by then area representative Herbie Young and Prime Minister Mitchell saved most of the playing field. As Stuardie has said, a lot where the houses are on the southern side used to be a part of the playing field. But what was so amazing about your experience, me sitting there with you, was the fact that, despite having the family support with Marty, your daughter, and your son right next to you, you still have a sense of independence that is applaudable. And what we're talking about this morning is overcoming obstacles, overcoming disability, working with disability. I remember my grandmother. She also lost her sight when after she retired from Fort Charlotte, and she too would go to the kitchen and make her own breakfast, make her own meals. What used to be really scary is when she would grab the pepper bottle to put pepper in her food, and refuse the help, of her grandchildren and children and what's not. And also, Stuardie, part of the panel is Baby P grandson, McArthur Young, Venard,
Grandnephew.
grandnephew. Okay, all right, Venard's son. All right, and he too have a problem with his eyes. And besides that, this week, I think it was last week, I met a young man coming from down the Bayside. Not a young man, around my age, middle age, coming from the Bayside, and he too was completely blind. And he says he don't walk out on the main road because it's too busy there. But he was walking from memory, completely blind, from the school and heading up to like almost up to the mountain side of he told me where he was living, but I can't remember what. But this program is to get an insight into your sense of independence and how you manage. If you can give a history as to how you would have overcome the all of a sudden you can't see no more, and still have the get up and wear it all to help yourself. Mac, you want to start? Yeah, yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
I prefer to let Mr. Mr. Hazelwood, do you want to take first shot?
Huh?
You want to go first, explaining how you lost your vision and how you were able to
Yeah.
get back your independence?
Yeah.
Okay.
In 1974,
Mm-hmm.
the realized I had the glaucoma
Mm.
from the back of my head.
Mm-hmm.
I went to Dr. Ono and he tested me and everything and he told me that time I have all my children go with me and my wife.
Mm-hmm.
And he told me that I must not pay back no more money to any doctor because I can't see again.
Mm.
But from that time when he told me so, I didn't get down and out.
Mm.
I started to build my confidence up
Mm.
and I changed my direction, what I used to do. I do things that I know I brain and I could do.
Mm-hmm.
I continue to clean fish. I
Mm.
will clean a bucket of fish alone.
Wow, wow,
I
wow.
will bust, I used to bust my coconut, dig
Mm-hmm.
them out, and grind them and grind. Then I buy a machine. I just plumb it up on the table and I bust the coconut into half. And I will grind out every piece, but not the shell.
Mm-hmm.
You have to know when you grind the coconut, when you reach the salt in the place, Sunday, you have to stop.
Mm.
Because if you go too much down in the coconut, you will get the hawks coming in the warehouse.
Mm.
So I used to gauge all of that. I used to, and this is from that, and make myself useful. I go to
Right.
my bathroom, I like a bathe as my life.
Right.
I go out in the porch, I go out in the yard, I
Mm.
go down in the kitchen, I just make my tea, a cup of tea for myself,
Mm.
you know. I just
Mm.
want in my hot water in my glass and I take my tea cup and make a cup of tea for myself. I do
Mm.
all that for myself. Then one day I get up, you know. I
Mm.
listen to my television, enjoy myself. So I don't make, well, I don't even think about me anymore, you know. My sight they mean nothing to me anymore because my brain is real. I have full understanding. I got my brain functioning properly. So I use my brain because I could remember a lot of things that happened. Now this morning I was trying to get on to college. You hear me?
Yeah, hearing you. Yeah, go ahead. We're
I
listening.
was trying to get on to college this morning
Mm.
to talk about the hospital they were going to build in Calaqua, where the college is. And you know why you know why the hospital was better right there? A lot
Why?
of people don't know. The two longest parts from the subway is from Calaqua and Layou is the two longest parts from the subway. So the point is, if you're in Calaqua and subway, stay right there. You're in Layou, stay right there. Anyhow, you go different from the Grenadine, you're going to cost up money at the subway. So that way you see they put the medical home and the poor home in that area long time there. You see?
Mm.
So when they talk about the hospital, that was the correct place to put the hospital. Because when they suffer Europe, those areas, they then get the amount of dust, they then get the amount of stuff coming from those as they go get from the other area. So there's a lot of things I know.
So I mean,
So
you think
yeah,
you rely more on your hearing, you rely more on your hearing than you rely more on your hearing now that to like to do things. I mean, how you know like what you hear when the water is boiling as opposed to seeing the water boiling. Um, and trying, like I said, we having some technical difficulties this morning. So
yeah,
my brain is not. My brain. Maybe I should close my eyes. Maybe I maybe I'll do better if I close my
yeah.
eyes and concentrate. But
Mhm.
mm, you
This is
know,
the point is,
hmm
what will happen? If one something happened to you,
mm,
you give up hope and you start to cry and say and this, it make it worse for you.
okay,
I'm 90 years of age as I did. The 2nd of July gone day, the same day the hurricane hit.
okay,
The, the hurricane hit,
uh huh.
that was my birthday.
Alrighty, alrighty. Well, I thought you was young. I say you're in your 80s. So congratulations, man. Yes, yes, yes.
Yeah,
Mm,
so I'm 90 years of age already. And then past my 90.
mm.
July the
How
2nd.
how does he know what day it is? Someone has to tell him, or he keeps checking his mind. And
I don't know where date is.
yeah, you ask,
I
or you
must
just
know.
keep a mental check all the time.
Now, let me tell you something. I just send my children, my grandchildren, my great grandchildren birthday when they come. I do I get my phone here. I just use my phone myself and call my children then. I got a phone number in my head and I call them whenever I want them. You know?
So do you see the keypad then, or you don't?
Yeah. So I make myself active.
Okay.
You know? So nobody have to really worry. They call me for my lunch, my what are my breakfast and my dinner. I know where my chair is. I know where to go and sit down. I know where to go and I use my lunch. I don't even go and wash my cup when I finish. I wash my plate, soap on my plate and everything, and turn them down. So I make myself hungry, you know. Too much people suffer because they take on what happened to them. So, so that is, that's how I live all the time until when the Almighty God. When I get up in the morning, I pray for the whole world. I pray for all who I know, all who I know. If it comes to the fighting war and all them. So I make myself evil. And I thank God for my memory. I just had a lot of information about food. You can love foods, you know? So
I speak.
anything
Mm,
to
go
do
ahead.
with sport or whatsoever. And you ask me, now let me ask you something, Carly.
Uh,
You know where the Center Kingston is?
what was that? The Center of
You know where the
Kingston.
Center Kingston is?
Yes, you said it was right at the barracks
Yeah, yeah. Well, I
where the
tell a
cannon
lot of
is.
people because
Yeah, we
the
spoke about
police
that before.
station is right in the center of Kingston.
Mm-hmm.
The police station in the center of Kingston.
Yeah.
And that big iron stake, you see, they jam up there in Burton, you call that is tongue buoy. East, west, north, south. That is the tongue buoy. They don't move that. They don't care what kind of project you're doing, they don't move that.
I hear you.
You know?
I hear you. All right. Um, like I said, let me ask for excuse because there's a lot of things was
Well,
concept. Yes,
well,
Mr. Mark, if you could interject, if you could interject on your experience. But Stuardie Miss Mac is also visually challenged, and
I
he's
know my own good friend, life friend, man.
okay. Okay,
But
all right.
he don't make that worry him.
Yes, like I
He
said, that.
don't make that worry him.
Mm,
See, I worry him.
mm,
He putting out the information that could inform the whole world. You
yes.
know, and that's what it's supposed to be. When I used to go by the school in the by the society for the blind, we used to play domino. We have our own domino. We used to play.
Mm,
We have our own domino, but they have grid.
yes,
So
yes.
you could see the numbers and then
All right.
and then we used to slam down domino. You know, when you go. I used to go all over the other blind people, them, you know, because a company in England where you could do sponsor, where you could sponsor society about body blind. They didn't make me the spokesman for the group.
Okay.
So you used to have to go out to the lady in the school, go visit other people. I go out just some chatty bill all about Kesban. When I want to go to this culture, I used to get culture, but this dropped me. Never one used to go to this culture, but drop me up the office and he come back to me.
Oh wow.
You know? So I make myself useful and not take on my brain. But what really set my brain is, let me really tell you how I get so brain quick. I used to work on the government truck, right?
Mm-hmm.
And one day we went down on his bill to take some big stone to go Vermont because we were building a wall in Vermont. That time was Jerry Scott was in minister for that thing. And when the school gap coming down with this fella natural that in the corner there, the truck brakes cut me. Trouble was over on the truck behind. One conductor and a girl and a lady was in front. So I said, boy, the truck started to speed go down the hill. I said, if I have dead, let me dead in the road so half a truck. And I half a truck and I slide and then my hand did get break, my left hand get break. And the doctor tell me, boy, turning up, he drive the pressure right up more in the head and send the blindness further.
Wow.
Yeah. So
Yes.
I get blind quick because I still used to work already at the glaucoma, still used to work on the truck. And from 1972 till now, I did. So I have to give God thanks and praise who have blessed me with. I could still make a contribution.
Yes, very much so. As a matter of fact, I remember going to a town hall meeting at the Layou government school,
Yeah.
and it was I heard the then representative refer to you as a living encyclopedia. And you mentioned you see I think you told me that the last time we spoke you told me also that a lot of what he said at the opening of the playing field, the launching with
You guys
the
give them all the
with
information.
yes with the grandstand when
Yeah.
they cut the
I
ribbon for
give
the
them all the
grandstand.
information so that they could make that speech.
Yes.
It's a big stuff.
Well, Stuardie, I think they should give you there should be something that you should keep. It's good to know that you have the trophy now and it goes to
Yeah.
the winning football
But
team, but they should
the
actually give you
football,
something to keep. Huh? Let me get that again.
yeah, yeah. But the football, what they have in there,
Uh huh.
the, my Is my name there as the
Yes, yes, yes. Yeah, your name. Yes, yes. So William Stuardie, William Stuardie, Hazelwood. You know.
yeah.
All right, and it was good. The thing was, I think it's Mr. Miller that sent the trophy. Mr. Miller that sent the trophy to you, if I remember correctly. I don't have my notes in front of me, but let me give praises to Mr. Miller who sent you the trophy. That was very insightful. You know, you didn't wait until the funeral to give Mr. Stuardie the praises that he deserves. And today, like I said, I don't feel. I think this was supposed to be so much better done, but the problems that I had with regards to getting the thing moving, but we still got an insight as to not giving up and overcoming your obstacles and not lying down and crying and being depressed and say, well, you can't help yourself. You still find a way to help yourself. You know.
Well, I make my contribution when I see fit to make.
Yes.
But there's one thing I don't do. When I call on a program,
Mm,
I respect people. I don't cuss people on the program. I don't do that now, Tal.
I hear you.
I don't call them no alcohol dependent. That's not my plan.
Mm,
If I have to address you, I address you like how I supposed to address you. One time, you get a joke. And this is not a real joke. This is serious. Mr. Hamilton call my home.
oh boy.
And he told me like this. There's a black man like the program where we have both plans and then I said, no, nobody doesn't black you. I said, call the program. So he say, you think I must call the program? I say, yes, don't stop call. Call the program. All you have to do, you make your contribution in a proper way, and that's all. Yeah, right. Then he come to me, he say, you think you should call once our prime minister? I said, yes. He said, why? I said, let me tell you something, Sammy Glenn. I have respect for people, and if I have to get in contact with the prime minister, I will address him as the prime minister saying this is what he's going to do. He tell me, so you against me? I said, Mr. Hamilton, you're your own man, and I am my own man. If you don't want to call me, sir, that's going to the prime minister. But you know, you boss about that on me.
All right, all right. We'll leave that alone. We're gonna leave that alone. We'll leave
Yes,
that
sir.
alone.
I have to
Oh
tell
God.
him, don't call back my phone again, put down my phone.
All
So from
right.
that, I don't call me.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
He's a very aggressive guy.
We're gonna leave that. We're
Just
gonna leave
make
that
a
alone.
big contribution,
Mm.
but then get to fight up. Yes,
Oh wow.
and I definitely talk that bad word
All
on
right.
me,
All
and I
right.
will never forget.
All right.
Where is he?
Yeah.
All right.
Doc, is any questions that you want to ask? Any questions you want to ask Stuardie? Any questions you want to ask Mr. Hazelwood? All right. It seems like
Well,
Doc
I,
stuff.
I, I, I thought we are gonna focus on disabilities, but
Yeah.
Mr. Hazelwood is blind. I
Mm,
just
Mhm.
want to say that I welcome his depth of knowledge.
mm.
Yep.
He seems to have been a man who has traversed almost all of his states and
Hold
knows
on
quite
Yep.
a
1 minute.
lot.
This is Dr. Lecoq.
Yeah, that's Dr. Laycock.
Yes.
Yes.
Dr.
Uh,
Lecoq, you
yes,
know
sir.
me and your father are only great friends.
No,
You ever,
glad to
you
hear
ever
that.
see him play
Yeah.
pool and
Well,
billiards? He
yeah,
was a
well, he
great
Mm.
was a
billiard
burly
player.
man, but he also went
He,
blind in
he used to
in
call
his latter
every
years.
every tackle he want to put a ball in.
Mm.
Mm.
What was?
When he come in, man, he was really, really good friend. And your
Mhm.
mommy, when she used to sell marble and cake and thing, I used to sell my children and my poor children when I had no money. I used to go to tell mommy the cut and she tell them, say,
Mm.
so that's why I used to call me Stuardie. Just tell them Stuardie, say me. And she would give my children what they want. And whenever they're going to prison, mommy, look at whom I owe you. You say, well, in that days, put 20% in, take 20% to the grass and have it put 20%,
Mm-hmm.
with my 4 kilos, more, love one Angus and Herald, you
Mm.
know. So I know your mommy, I know when I was living up street,
Okay.
I know when I was living up street, you
Yeah.
and Pachijala, you was in the
Well,
same area
up
then.
street is for the older ones. I think I was born at Montrose.
Eh?
Oh,
I think I was born in
I
Montrose. The
left
older
from,
ones
I
were up
left
street.
from up street and go Montrose.
Yeah.
You left from up there and go Montrose, when the lady went
Yeah.
by there and up there and build the house up there.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
So I was saying that my father also went blind in his older years from the same problem that you talk about, the glaucoma,
glaucoma.
Yeah, yeah.
which is
Yeah.
yeah. So a lot of people know what glaucoma is, but glaucoma is really having a buildup of pressure in
Neither
the
tell me
pressure
exactly because no neither will
pressure
give
in
a
the
long good.
eyes
I
itself. So
just
like
call
have the
him
high
when I
blood.
want,
Yes,
and he gives information and things like that.
yes.
Yeah.
So glaucoma is
Yeah,
hypertension in the eyes basically. The pressure in the eyes are so great
Mm.
that it
Mm.
squeezes the nerve that comes
Mm.
towards the eye to give you vision and eventually go
The
blind.
optic nerve. Yeah.
Yeah. So your eye, the virtuous humor really has to replenish itself. It can't sit itself. So you have things at the side that glands that produce the fluid that's in the eyeball
yeah,
basically.
Mm.
But that
Mm.
has
yeah.
to drain out. So it
So,
drains out at the
you
angle. With the
when
angle
you
you could have what they call
visualize,
narrow
when you
angle
visualize,
glaucoma.
when I got Sunday morning to the noise, he usually the man
Yeah.
used to sell me my eyes when I come going in market there because he used to sell me the cut no cone and thing down like way.
Mm.
Sunday morning I go to
Okay.
cut me half black eyes to me, put in
Mm-hmm.
me coconut butter, put it
Yeah. So
all them
study.
coconut
I
water,
just telling them
coconut
about
with stuff.
glaucoma so that they could have a little understanding of
Them
this
don't
glaucoma
realize all
thing.
that come from poor family. The father come from a poor thing, but he didn't make himself poor. He make
Hmm.
himself poor
Right.
by the power in education. And that's why
Mm.
Yes.
that way a lot of people don't understand.
Yeah.
I got
Today is
8
actually my
children.
grandmother's birthday.
Mhm. Right.
Coincidentally.
Okay.
No.
There's a lot more to talk about the China English.
Yeah.
Mm.
So she was a Richardson from Barley.
Mm.
Huh?
Um. Yeah. So I was explaining glaucoma basically. So you have
Mm.
you have wide angle glaucoma. You have narrow angle glaucoma. Some
Yeah,
glaucoma
yeah.
could be treated
Mm-hmm.
surgically, but not everyone could be treated surgically for glaucoma. And in fact, one of the consequences, my father had narrow angle glaucoma, and being black puts you at a disadvantage in that the angle tend to be closed very quickly. And if you do surgery, because we tend to produce scar tissue quick a lot, we black people, then it closes off the
Right.
angle completely and you go blind.
Right.
So I
Right.
think that happened to my
Yeah.
father that he had an operation in the United States, and when he came back, he actually went blind
Mm.
Yeah.
and didn't and no longer needed medication. But I have to say he
Yeah.
wasn't as adept at doing things himself as I hear
Mm.
Stuardie is at the
Mm-hmm.
moment.
Mm.
Doing his own.
Maybe because he lost his vision later in life, so that could
Yeah.
be a factor. Yeah.
Well, that
When,
norm is an
when my
advantage, you see,
doctor
because
come,
you're aware
when
of
my
you have a
doctor come to
spatial
visit me,
orientation, whereas if you're blind from
when
day
he
one,
test me, I don't
you
have no
may
sugar,
learn.
no
Yeah.
pressure.
Yeah, but that there's also the emotional and psychological component to it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
I don't
yeah.
smoke, I don't drink. I never smoke,
Mm.
I never drink.
Mm.
Ah, wow.
I used to drink when I was so I cut down a lot of the things. I would drink more
Mm-hmm.
coconut water and all them kind of things. So me the war
Mm.
myself with a whole load of thing where I know ain't good for me.
Right.
So,
Right. Excellent.
I just live normal.
Mm.
Eat where I know good for me. And where
Right.
I know it ain't good for me, I don't drink coke and all them kind of things. Nah. I
Right.
don't
Right.
even drink bubbles. I don't drink Guinness, all them things. Them not for me now.
I hear you.
Sweet
Mm-hmm.
drinks, all them things.
Mm.
I don't drink them things.
All right,
Mm-hmm.
When the doctor come by me, he say, Hazelwood, I could be without test, you know. Because every time I come, your pressure and sugar, they same place. Mm. Yeah.
Mm.
So
uh, uh,
that's how I do it.
study. Let me get a little personal now. Is any advice you
Huh?
can give me as to get a Layou girl?
Is there any advice I could give you?
Yes, I'm a single man. Any advice you can give me how to get a Layou girl?
What will you any advice about what?
No, no.
Study, tell him they're single and they're single. So he could read between the lines.
Good.
Yeah,
Ay.
yeah, I glad to listen to you all.
All right.
Yeah.
All right.
But Carl is full of
Then,
beautiful women, you know.
Yes.
anytime my friend want any information, where you
Mm.
know I could give him, Carlisle,
Yes.
you're free to come in my home.
Yep.
So so
I think
Let
I'm
me
gonna
say,
start
let
making
me
it a
say
habit.
good day to my
so
friend Dub.
Mm.
I am
Brother
surprised
Dub,
that Carlyle didn't know where the center of the tongue was because his father was a police.
Yeah, I did.
And and his father should have been able to tell him that because I know where the center of the tongue was. But you know
Mm.
that is some of these things that we miss all the time because I doubt if a lot of children, especially Kingston children, know where the center of the tongue is. And they
Yeah.
walk past it
I want,
every day probably and don't know the reason why this thing is planted there. It is because that is the exact center of the tongue. And we have
because
lot of
they
Yeah.
and,
know
and
I
a
am
lot
not
of
the
these things
center.
a lot of these things
But
come out
hey,
too because
let me ask you
last week
something.
when
I
Doug's
think
brother
there's
was
an
on,
audio
Could
issue.
I
you
remind
tell
of
me
his father used to call in a
could
lot,
you,
Mr.
Mm.
Howard,
let me tell you,
and tell us
let me ask you
a lot of
something.
historical things and
Could
put
you
things in
tell me where the
perspective.
three
Hold on,
beautiful
I think
building
there's
in
an audio
Kingston?
Leacock.
issue.
Stuardie saying something. What are you saying, Stuardie?
Yeah.
Could you tell me where you see beautiful building in Kingston? Yes.
Boy,
Where you see beautiful Kingston?
we gonna argue
Mm.
about that. We gonna argue
Which
about
building?
that. We
Where
gonna
you
argue about
see
that.
the
I
three
think
most beautiful building in Kingston?
uh,
The
Mm.
Catholic,
Catholic Church is one.
beauty is
the
in the eye of
Angola,
the
and the
beholder.
Church, and the Methodist Church.
That's right.
Let me
The
Beau-
Catholic
see
Church has
the
to be
most
one.
beautiful.
beauty.
Let
Oh,
me the
most
most
definitely. The
beautiful building
Cathedral
in
of the
Kingston.
Assumption should be one of
Catholic
them.
What's all?
Church, the
Yes.
police
Just what's all
station
the bill?
will be two.
You go in there and see how the bill. Keep any other
Mm.
building do like that.
Mm.
Hey.
Yeah, and the courthouse.
All right.
Mm.
That's my
Well,
guess. What's the answer?
Mm.
the courthouse, the courthouse is something else. But you have a lot of great building in Kingston that they break down on it. But
Mm.
they should not have break down on it.
Mm.
They
No.
should never break down.
Yeah. So it's
Mm.
true
You hear
because
the talking about Mr.
where
Pierce
Ken Mars
Vera
is, that used to
and
be the old
Bonody
governor's residence, and that was turned into
and Grace
a
and
shopping
them.
mall, and that should have never have happened
Mm.
either. I agree.
Mm. Mm.
You know, we used to bring it, Planet Ball in with them people. We used to go where they had a place up Palova. We used to let some town go up there play Planet Ball, you know. Both
Mm.
Bruce Bonedy and Congo Bonedy and them guys, you know.
Mm.
Wow.
Mm.
You see? And
Wow.
For the
Mr.
sake of
Houston, we used to
clarity,
play the best fast bowler. We used to go
mm.
over Edinburgh and play. They had a nice little ground there. I don't know if they still got a ground there.
Mm. Mm.
He used to bowl the left hand. He used to say, yeah. Carl said, I got some kind of bowler for England.
They don't have the ground they no more. They don't have the ground they
Yeah.
no more. They have the Drippy
Mm.
Eustace secondary.
Oh,
Oh,
okay, okay.
Yes. All right. Well,
right, right,
Stuardie,
right.
thanks for coming in. Thanks for coming in. Thanks for coming in.
Right.
We're gonna move
Okay.
on to
Yes.
Mr. Mac now. He's gonna give us his experience. Unless you want to stick
Mm.
around and listen to Mac's presentation.
All right. Okay, move on.
All right then.
All
Everybody have a
right.
good day.
Blessings.
Take care.
Yes. Blessings on you. God bless.
My great friend Dub, hope everything will work out nice and all right for you.
Everything done work out. Everything done work out wonderful for me.
Mm.
It already worked out.
All righty. Take care, Stuardie. Thanks.
Pass back by me when you come down, man. Pass back by me.
Yeah, I gonna bring him.
Yes.
All righty then. Take care.
Bye-bye.
That's
Goodbye.
one.
Everybody have a good day.
You too.
Right.
You too. You too. You know, that's one of the persons I have to really visit whenever I am back in my on my stamping ground in Layou. Stuardie is indeed, for not just because he's a person with disability, a similar disability like mine,
Mm.
but he's such an inspiration to me. And before I go deep into my presentation, there are a couple of things that jumped out on his presentation. One is the fierce sense of independence that people with disabilities, especially people who are visually impaired, um, gravitate towards. You know, there is something that each one of us as human beings aspire to, is a sense of dignity, and independence is part of that. We, especially living in the culture where we are from, like in a place like St. Vincent and the Grenadines, being independent, not being dependent on someone, is something that is big in our culture, right? And I could talk about the whole history of the tabooism associated with disabilities and persons not wanting to be related to or have a close relationship with a person with this with a disability, because they feel as if the ridicule, the ostracism, the marginalization, the the fact that the society ignores you would be part of their lives by proxy. You know, um, so many things that we can talk about. The second thing is he talks about how he still managed to do things for himself, hucking the coconut, grinding the coconut, and this is something that I'm very, very, very familiar with. You become more acutely aware sometimes of your ability to use your hands because you tend to use your hands more. Your hands become an extension of your sight,
Mm.
right? He talked about his amazing memory, and I would say unequivocally, there is empirical evidence, especially in my own experience, that people who are visually impaired, we tend to use a bit more of our brain real estate because we have to constantly analyze everything. We have to analyze our spatial awareness. We have to analyze um, conversations. We have to analyze when we are moving from point A to point B, and so many things. You know, even when you're sitting down to eat, your mind is actually working, your brain is working in the background as to, okay, what do I eat first? How do I eat? And so on and so forth. So every action is almost as if you are planning every action you take, because that's how you ensure your safety. That's how you ensure your continued independence.
Yeah,
You know.
that's exactly what the gentleman was saying. Like I said, I don't remember his name, but the gentleman that I
Mm-hmm.
met walking up the street who said
Mm-hmm.
that he did not go out to the main road because he
Mm-hmm.
would bump into somebody,
Right.
and
Mark,
yes.
Yes.
do you hear better and smell better and taste better? I mean,
I am laughing, right? Because
right,
not a lot of people know that I am also hearing impaired.
all right.
Oh
And let
wow.
me explain. I do wear hearing aids when I go out, and it's not something that I'm ashamed to say
Okay.
because it's part of me. And I will say this, and the life of and Stuardie himself, I know would agree with this. A person with a disability is what I am, not who I am. There's a difference. We do not allow, and he said as much. He does not allow his disability to overwhelm, subsume him. But let me explain. My condition, my visual condition, is part of a hereditary condition which I inherited from my mom. My mom is also visually impaired, but her condition it's a little bit more serious than mine. I still have a tiny bit, like 2% of usable vision. So I can tell when it's day, I can tell when it's night. I can just look at the window where I think the window is, and when the light comes through, I can, know that it's daylight.
What do you
So
have? Is it Wardenberg's?
no, it's called retinitis pigmentosa, RP.
Retinitis pigmentosa. I was going to say, I either that or
Yes,
retinitis pigmentosa. All right. Okay.
yes, yes. And that combined with the progressive hearing loss is part of a condition known as Usher syndrome. And it's a hereditary condition. There's a lot of research going on about it, what causes it. Because the same thing that happens with the retina, which are the sensory cells at the back of the eye that picks up light and, transmit the image that you're seeing from your eye to your brain, and then your brain interprets the image, stuff like that. The same thing happens to your hearing cells, which are those tiny hairs in your inner ear that helps to pick up sound. So when sound comes in, your eardrum vibrates, and there are three tiny bones that connect your eardrum to what they call your cochlea, I think. And the cochlea has, I think, it's fluid filled, and it has these tiny hairs. And the louder the sound, the more those sensory hairs would move, and your brain would interpret that as a loud sound. The softer the sound, the less they would move, and your brain would interpret that as a softer sound. But of course, as you may also know, Doc, that your air also controls your balance. And one of the issues that I have is I do suffer from a mild case of vertigo. Um, it is not constant. It does come on maybe within a second or two. If I'm outside, I would feel as if I'm not aware. And if I don't hold on to something, I can find myself on the ground and injure myself. So that's why when I'm outside, I always try to be close to somebody or with somebody. Although I do a lot of independent traveling because I go to work and come back home on my own, right? This diagnosis was realized around 2009, and I was declared legally blind around that time. I was still an elementary school teacher. I was a science teacher at the time. I spent about 9 years teaching elementary science up here. And unlike Stuardie, I went through an almost debilitating psychological reaction to my vision loss, because even though I have always had vision problems for all of my life, to the point where I have never been able to read a chalkboard in any of my schooling, whether elementary or secondary school.
Wow.
And some of my studies suffered, especially my math. I was never able to pass math in either primary or secondary school, and I'm not afraid to say that, right? The transition was very difficult for me. I also developed a love for reading when I entered St. Martin's, and Francois could attest to the fact that I was always in a book, and I had to hold the book really close. I used to wear these thick Coke bottle bottom style glasses, and unfortunately, our culture at the time was very, very intolerant of people who are visually impaired or people who are hearing impaired, right? I remember there were times in high school when I was heckled for, holding the book so close when I was reading, affected me greatly, but I never lashed out or anything. I tend to internalize a lot of stuff. But then I got the opportunity to come to the United States, and I went to doctor after doctor, and I have to give a lot of credit to my grandparents, my grandfather and my grandmother. They took me to all kind of doctors. I ended up wearing glasses, and from glasses to contact lenses and so on. And they helped my everyday vision a lot. But it's just that sitting in a classroom and looking at the chalkboard, never able to read. And it was hard for me to admit that. It took years and years and years for me to admit that I had that experience. Right? So when I came to this country, I was diagnosed. I ended up losing my job around the same time for two reasons. One, um, my ability to manage the class, came into question. And this was a personal realization of mine, right? Classroom management is the sole responsibility of the teacher. I have always been a conscientious teacher. I cared about every single student in my classroom. And to come to the conclusion that I no longer had the spatial or situational awareness to ensure their individual and collective safety, I had to make a decision. And it was the hardest decision I ever made because I loved teaching. Loved teaching. Right? And so that, coupled with the fact that, as I said, I developed a love for reading in St. Martin's. I remember when I entered Form 1, there was a little shelf with some encyclopedia on the side. It wasn't a complete set. And by the time I moved from Form 1 to Form 2, I had read every single one of them. Right? That's why I understood where my name came from, General Douglas McArthur. You know, a white man who who made a promise to the Philippines that he would return, and he did return to free the Philippines. So that's why he's a folk hero in the Philippines right now. You know, so when I started losing my vision, I had just maybe within about 6 months or so, there was a bookstore in Kings Plaza that I used to visit, and I used to buy my novel. I love reading novels, all genres. And they were going out of business. It was Walden Books. And I bought about maybe almost 10 books. Never got to read them. And that was like the Himalayas falling on me, because reading is something that I thoroughly enjoy, to the point where I would sit down and read a book without eating until I fell asleep.
Passion.
Right? So, yep. So when I realized I was no longer going to be able to read, that kind of exacerbated my depression. I sank into a deep, deep, deep depression. I didn't want to go anywhere. I didn't want to speak to anybody. I mean, it was bad. Until one day in school, and I used to do all these little things to try to adapt. Right? And in spite of the fact that I was losing my vision, I also suffer from a condition, and Doc, I don't know if you might be familiar with this, called photophobia, which is an ultra sensitivity to light.
Light.
Yes, and glare. So I used to, when I got the diagnosis and had the discussion with the doctor and all of that stuff, and I started coming to school 6 o'clock in the morning, because I don't want to be caught outside when the sun is up. Because when the sun is up, my visual impairment became more expressed, became more pronounced, became more observable. Right? And one morning it was raining, and I was wearing glasses at the time. Some rain got on the glasses. At that time, the glasses were still helping me a little bit. And when I entered the building, I ran right into a wall because the rainwater had speckled the glasses and I wasn't able to see properly. And I remember, and this happened in front of some students, and that's when my whole world collapsed. I remember sitting down, because I used to enter the building through the cafeteria. And I remember my deputy principal came to me and said, "Mr. Young, what is wrong?" And I broke down. And I cried. He took me into his office and I explained the situation to him. And thank God, God works in such mysterious ways. It's amazing. He immediately picked up the phone and called someone in New Jersey who worked with the Commission for the Blind in New Jersey. She then called someone who worked at the Commission for the Blind. And mind you, all of these things I was not aware of. right? I had, as I said, I had always internalized my visual problems, my hearing problems. And so I was able to get in contact with a counselor at the Commission for the Blind and had a meeting with him, and he explained all of the different resources. And blindness, visual impairment, I tend not to use the word blindness too much because there are different degrees of visual impairment according to the Americans with Disabilities Act. Um, there's so much resources out there that I was not aware of. I remember when he told me that there is a library for the blind where you can get books on audio. And for the life of me, I remember the first day, they actually sent me the machine free to read the books. And they also sent me a couple of books to sample. One of them was a book called Duma Key by Stephen King. And Carl, listeners, Doug, I put in that book, and it was a weekend. I read that entire book between Saturday and Sunday, non-stop. I was a proverbial and literal drowning man clutching at a straw because I was able to hold on to something that I thought I was going to lose. Right? Another thing that I did, I reached out for professional help. I went to therapy for years and years and years. And I remember my therapist telling me, he said, McArthur, listen, you're still young. You're extraordinarily intelligent. Why don't you think about going back to school? I said, I don't know because, this created a whole new set of anxieties because, of my experiences in school, going to teachers college. And if I tell you the experience I had at teachers college because of my visual impairment and my hearing
And that
issues,
that was based on
it's
But
discrimination.
were they recognized in teachers college by the tutors, or did they just assume,
no,
well, you
no,
slow and you're not like the rest, and they
no.
treated you as such, as if you were a dud?
I would tell her, I would give you an anecdote. Professor Marx taught us English, English A, use of English at college. Very beautiful lady, one of the most pleasant teachers I've ever had. And I remember we had to change rooms one day because the teachers' college has always been prone to flooding, right? And we went in there, and I actually came into the classroom a little bit late. Everybody was seated, so I was looking around for a seat. And she said something to me, and I didn't hear her. And I asked her to repeat herself, and she was very soft spoken. And she repeated herself, I still didn't hear her, and the entire class started laughing. And that just destroyed my day,
Mm.
you know. I mean, listen, what I'm telling you guys now are stuff that I never told to anybody. And I'm revealing this to the people of St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Life for people with disabilities, especially people with visual impairment, or even people who are hearing impaired, it's not
Well, but
easy.
but 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 you're bringing a very interesting thing to the fore, you see, because that is part of the problem we have in especially in small countries,
Yep, yep,
and we tend to demonize kids and think, well, they're dull.
yep,
And I
yep,
was telling Carl that I wanted to speak about neurodivergence, and he said, oh, he's going to speak about Mac, but I think it would have tied in quite nicely with today's thing. But I'll speak about it on another day
yep,
because
yep,
recognizing this is very important. No,
yep.
I think did you struggle with night vision as well? Because I think that's what happens. The
Oh, yeah,
retinitis
man.
pigmentosa, you have your
Yes.
cones, which I think
And the
interpret
rods.
color, and the
Yes.
rods, which
Yep,
which which do perception.
yep,
So the rods, I think, go first.
yep,
So you have difficulty at night.
Yep.
basically, and
Yep.
so forth. And then
Yep.
the because retinitis mean infection, but is in this case is not an infection. It's a genetic
Right.
condition basically. And
Yes.
pigmentosa speakers are pigment, red,
The pigment.
pigmentosa. So
Exactly.
you have
Exactly.
an infection of color basically, if you want to put it that,
Exactly.
where you can't
Exactly.
recognize colors.
Exactly.
But
Exactly.
that could destroy your whole interpretation of things, etc.
Yep.
When you want to
Yep.
see something red, it looks yellow, or it's green, it looks like something else.
Yeah.
And but this
Yeah.
is a slow growing thing as well, and it just goes on and on for the rest of your life till eventually it goes.
Right. Right.
What job do you do now, if you don't mind me asking? Because you said you used to teach.
Yeah,
You-
it took a while because
Mm.
well, let me just fill in the gap a little bit before I talk about my job, my current job. My social worker eventually encouraged me to go back to school, and initially I wanted to study environmental science with a view to becoming a marine biologist because I'm very well versed in science. I taught elementary science for years and years and years, to the point where I actually received an award because one of my students won a competition, and the congressman who represented my area, I think it was for Dr. Martin Luther King Day, also presented me with an award for excellence in teaching. Um, I don't say these things to people because it's not about me. What I'm sharing today is about bringing a sense of knowledge and sensibility to the plight of people with disabilities. So she eventually got me, and I said, I don't want to jump into the 4-year college like that. I would try the 2-year college, which is the community schools here in the United States. So I registered at the Borough of Manhattan Community College. I had to take an entrance exam, and
Did they give you extra time?
yes, they did, and
Mm.
I was able to use an accessible computer, computer that speaks, and that's another aspect of what I would talk about too. Um,
But before you do that, I mean,
mm.
I'm thinking the biggest challenge is the psychological. I mean, how do you
Oh
overcome
yes,
the psychological?
well, that is, I'm glad you asked that because there is a sense when you're losing your vision of impending darkness, and I'm not just talking about physical darkness. Because when you lose your vision, and I know people sometimes in our culture, in our vernacular, use the word dark sighted. Yes, vision do not become dark necessarily. My vision, if I may describe it, is standing inside of really thick white smoke or fog. Everything just looks white or light grayish, right? But the psychological aspect of it is, how do I continue to fit in the society? How do I continue to contribute to the society? You become disabled and you become a ward of the state and you receive social security disability income or whatever, right? You become a dependent of the state. You become dependent on family members and friends for helping you around and all of that stuff. And so you have to navigate this psycho emotional, like almost a mountain that is put in front of you. And you
Yeah.
either climb that mountain or you die.
But it is very daunting. I just recall
Very.
like my father, when he went to the United States and had his operation for his glaucoma and came back, he actually
Mm.
went blind, but he was so scared to even reveal it and so
Yep.
forth. So he came out because he knew to negotiate his way through the house and nobody suspected it. And I only
Mm.
found out one day when I came home, I
Mm.
walked into the house, he was
Mm.
looking straight at me through the door,
Mm.
right?
Mm.
And I walked so softly and then he said, Daddy, and he almost jumped out of his chair because he
Mm.
was so scared that somebody else was in the house with him. And
Mm.
then I said, but what? That he didn't see me come from. Then I realized he had gone completely blind. And
Mm.
thereafter, anytime he was left in the living room, he'd go and lock the door because
Mm.
he became quite insecure. that he could be there sitting and somebody could walk in and he didn't know.
Ah,
I
that is the
I had
operative
a
word.
I
The
had a similar
insecurities.
experience, Alwyn, where my father and I actually
Guys, you
didn't.
hear me?
Yeah, give me a second,
Yes,
Dougie.
Dougie.
Where I didn't actually reveal it to the rest of my family until after my father's death.
Mm,
I was bringing my father from the bathroom, and there was something interested on TV. I was holding his hand. I was holding
mm,
him by his shoulder, and but there was something interested in TV. So while holding his shoulder, I peered over to the TV upon walking into the bedroom,
mm.
and he walked straight into the bedroom wall. Hit his head
Wow.
on the bedroom wall. He's like, "Carl, you gonna hit me? Carl, you gonna hit me?" I'm like, "Dad, I didn't hit you. You walked into the wall." And I put his hand on the wall, show him where the wall is,
Mm,
and then then I asked him. I said, "Dad, you're not seeing." And he put his hands to his lips and said, "Shh." And he didn't want me to tell
yep,
anybody. And I never told anyone
yep,
until after he passed
yep,
away. You know.
yep, yep.
So
And and and
yeah.
and Doc mentioned the whole time that all comes down to what Doc talked about just now, insecurity. And it's not about the physical insecurity in terms of not wanting to do certain things or being afraid to have an accident because you think that instinctually you think as a visually impaired person, every time you trip or you knock something over, you think that the whole world is looking at you.
Wow.
It's a psychological, yeah. But there's also as I said, the psychological component of it, where you become insecure within your own self. But I tell you something, and this is something that I'm going to reveal to the whole world. I got down on my knees one night, and I said, God, if you know that I'm going to lose my vision, I beg you, take my life.
Wow. It's deep.
He didn't. And I do believe now that he spared my life for a purpose.
I believe he didn't. I believe you didn't lose your vision. You gained your vision then. I believe you
Well,
gained your vision then. Actually,
wonderfully said.
Yes.
Wonderfully said. Because you know what is my mantra? And I remember saying it to my therapist, and she actually went and created a graphic on her computer and printed it and stuck it on her wall. My physical eyes were closed so that my spiritual eyes can be opened.
Yes. I don't know if you heard me mentioning, quoting Mr. John Keats this morning. It says,
Yes,
"Impossible is for the unwilling." And
exactly.
we take that and doubled it with what I want to change to the national anthem. Where there's a will, there's a way.
There's a way.
Yes. There
And
you
I
go.
thought about, I listened to Razam's song this morning, and I thought, I reflected on what we're going to talk about today. And it is right in the middle of that, perseverance and strength.
Yes.
Because I went to school. My grandfather died within 2 weeks. And this is somebody who was there with me every day, him and my grandmother, because I was raised by them. Loved them to death. He's the one who inspired me to go to St. Martin's Secondary School, and it's one of the greatest educational experiences I've ever had. Talk about brother Edward establishing that library. I used to live in that library.
Let me ask you something.
Library.
Were you ever taught by Mr. Sipney Hall?
No. My music teacher was Mr. Jardine. I
No,
had
Sip would have taught English language and literature. Language
English.
and literature. The
That
reason
was for
the, re-
me. For
he's
me,
the,
that was Pigeon.
the reason I'm mentioning that is that today is his birthday. Happy birthday to you, Sip.
Happy birthday.
Yes, happy birthday, Sip. Yeah.
And I have to remember to wish my friend Momo.
But
Momo.
Sip would have been before Carlisle because I
Yes.
taught there, and when I taught at St. Martin, Sip had already left. So Sip
Oh,
would have been
okay.
before that.
I
I
went
see.
in there 85. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. All
Yeah.
them time I'm in
Yeah.
America,
But
so I don't know nothing. Yeah.
but going to school, I remember initially it was nervous, but talk about an experience, and I cannot say anything negative about my college life here in the United States. I remember going to BMCC, and within the first week or two, I realized this is where I belong. Right? They have every school in New York, well, at least every college. There's an office responsible for providing and seeing to the needs of students with disabilities. They have different names, but that's what they are. Right? So I was able to get accessible materials. I was able to get books on tape. I was able to go and take my exams because I wasn't able to take the exams on paper. So the professor would send the exam over to the Center for Student Disability Services, which is the one at Brooklyn College, which is my alma mater for undergrad and grad. And then they would convert it to like a PDF and put it on the computer, and you use the computer. Computer has a software that we use that I was trained on called JAWS, which stands for Job Access with Speech.
Okay.
And that software is a life changer because right now, what is helping me with my job.
Actually,
And
that is general with a lot of things now. Where you just right click on the
yes,
on the text and the computer speaks
yes,
to you.
yes,
But
yes, yes. But
what?
this one is specifically designed for people with visual impairment because it
Okay.
was designed and created by people who are visually impaired.
All right, we got
Stick
Doug.
a pin.
We got Dougie. Stick up in. We got Dougie. Dougie didn't
Mhm.
get an award in Edgewise, and it's his station. So,
No, 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 that's nothing.
uh,
That has nothing to do
Boss
with
man,
that.
boss man, boss man.
yeah, yeah,
Mark.
This is my big brother. This is my bigger brother here. Dougie
Yeah, it
yeah.
has
is.
nothing to do with a station of mine.
No, no, no.
I just want to make sure.
I just
I
making a
want to
joke
make
about
sure
it.
my audio, because remember, Teller was on the road. I had
Yes,
to go
yes,
and do
Yeah,
yes.
with the whole, and then
Yeah.
I
yeah.
was listening to the whole program basically,
Mm,
and was fascinated by a
mm,
lot of things. I just want to add my 2 cents to things.
mm,
I myself, I have to go and do operations for both eyes. I've been
mm,
trying to get this done every time I'm here. I have some issues.
mm,
But many years ago, Dr. Bacchus gave me Timolol for glaucoma to stop
mm,
me from it developing.
mm,
And I think it's been doing well so far. But I had several challenges with my eyes. I end up in NYU in New York. I end up
I
at
remember
Advent.
that.
I end up in Advent Health here in Orlando, and I'm now dealing with a company called Laser Vision.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a lot of challenges. I know what it's like,
Mm,
but be scary. It's
it
kind of
is.
scary when you so accustomed being active, and the things that I do, I pray God I never lose my sight.
Yep.
I will have to do cataract operations though.
Yep.
Um, I've been delaying that,
Mm,
but I would see what and have to schedule that in a way conducive
right.
to things for me. One of my elder sisters in England just had it 2 days ago.
Mm,
Uh, things are what they are. But I want to go back to Stuardie 1 minute before I come to you, Mac.
mm-hmm.
And I just make a joke with Stuardie. I say, now that Carlisle moved back to Layou, he's bad talking me with Carlisle, so he's not my friend. But when Victoria, his wife, was alive, I
Mm,
became close to Stuardie when his grandchildren, Matty's daughter, and
mm,
then his husband, Pepe, was sick. So I had a
yeah.
concert in Layou to raise monies to help send
Mm,
them to take care of their dialysis situation. And we became very close. So I visited him a few times, and Victoria. And one day I went in because, I wasn't sure Stuardie was blind to things that he was doing.
mm,
So I was doubtful. So I
mm,
thought he was tricking me.
mm,
So I
mm,
went in the back. I came to the shop, and his wife was in the shop, and she said,
mm,
"You want some red belly?" Or it was tartar red belly that they made, and I
mm,
love that. So I said, "Sure." She said, "Well, Stuardie is the one. Your partner is the one who's going all these coconut and thing." I went
mm,
in the back, and I said, "Stuardie, where you are?" He's sitting on a bucket. and he had a bucket with fish and a bucket with coconut.
Mm.
And I see Stuardie cleaning the fish. And then he would just take his left hand and throw the fish in the other bucket. So I said, "No, man, Stuardie had to be seeing. He can't be dropping that thing in the bucket without seeing and no exact. And the bucket was not exactly right under him. It was probably about 3 feet away from him. And he was throwing that stuff straight in the bucket, like if you see in the bucket. So I put my hands over his eyes without him knowing, you know. So I said, Stuardie, you sure you can't see? He said, man, I tell you, dog, you're blind, man. What's wrong with you? I tell you, blind. And this man clean all that fisherman, him sit down. Then he went and he got up and there's some other water on the side. I think it was a pipe. I can't remember if it was a pipe. Wash off his hands and so forth and whatnot. And went back and sit down. Just automatically put his right hand to the side of him, take up the grater, and then take up the bucket with coconut and the other thing that you're going to grate into, and start grating coconut, and that come right down to his fingernail, and he ain't touching that thing and eat off his finger. I said, it's so fascinating. So I just wanted to say that I witnessed that, and that really. The second thing I wanted to say, based on your experience about people mocking you and so forth, one thing I give thanks to my parents for is that they never allowed us to make fun of disability and animals.
Right.
When you see people disabled, if my parents, especially my mother, well, my father too, if he catch you laughing, just skinning your teeth, just making a slight remark, you will get one lick in there. Never allowed us. I always say, don't make fool of people who are disabled, who are blind and or walking funny or doing something. And you see animals, said, do not ill-treat animals. Never ill-treat animals. I guess you grew up farming and you had great respect for that, you know. And
Right.
but yourself, Mac, you know, I getting to know you and the things that you told me that when you're going to work and so forth, and knowing your situation, I'm always fascinated that you're on your way to work and they have normal people who can't find a way around.
and if I may add to that, Dougie, where I live, where I work, right? It's a massive. I don't know if Doc has ever visited it. It's at the end of Farragut Road, where it dead ends. There's a massive warehouse complex there.
I know the place.
My office is right in one of those warehouses, so I have to literally direct the driver who is navigating the vehicle to the exact position, and sometimes they can't even find it. I remember he dropped me off, took me out of the vehicle, because I tend to try my best to learn spatially where I am. My office.
Do you use a cane?
Yes, I do. My office has chargers for electric vehicles outside in our part of the parking lot, right? So I said, look for the chargers, because you know electric vehicles are very ubiquitous in the United States right now. So everybody's familiar with the electric chargers. He dropped me off. They say he can't find the door. So I said, okay, just stop right at the chargers. And I said, just let me hold on to your shoulder and I would show you exactly where the door is. When I found the door, within like a minute and a half, he said, wow. You know? And, you know, this whole idea about with what with visual.
You're fading out. You're fading in and out. You're fading in and out, Mac.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
I have experienced that. I mean, going to school, I remember one of my professors, one of my favorite professors, originally from Grenada, and she has the distinction of being the first black anthropologist in the United States, which is I felt so proud of her. But she and I became very, very close. Dr. Paula Sanders. And she used to tell me, she used to say, McArthur, I don't know how you do it. Because I took 2 classes with her. I took anthropology and I took human geography. And one of the things I always prided myself in doing when I was in school, I participated to the fullest. I created this close relationships with my professors. There was one professor I was doing research studies, and she was explaining the different types of research, and she was talking about things like averaging, I mean, statistics, averages, mean, mode, and she was giving examples, and I was calling out the answers to her. I was the only visually impaired person in the class. And I remember the first time I answered the question, you could have heard a pin drop in the class.
Yeah,
And I wondered
because they calculated dependent and you weren't.
exactly, exactly. And one of the things that I hope this conversation brings to people in St. Vincent and the Grenadines and within the broader listening audience, do not categorize, do not marginalize, do not judge a book by the cover when you are dealing with a person with a disability, because you do not know what that individual is capable of. Our first black governor of New York, David Paterson, who led the New York legislature, was blind, was visually impaired.
All right,
Yep.
we got several.
Does your cane give you Bluetooth instructions?
Sorry?
Is your cane Bluetooth enhanced?
No, there's one that I'm trying to get my hand on called the We Walk, but that's another thing that we struggle with in the United States. We have been lobbying the government to negotiate more with the producers of these accessible equipment, because as of now, it is left, because we live in a capitalist system, it is left up to the producers to set the prices. And then the government just go along with whatever price is set. For example, my laptop computer, an ordinary HP NV 16-inch, that you would pay about $1,200 for in the store. After that has been equipped with the requisite software, the value is over $5,000.
But Mark, I'm glad you mentioned that because I don't think those things are beyond the reach of our governments in order to
No,
assist people who are
no.
affected in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Because we
Mm.
spend a lot of money on a lot of rubbish. I don't want to put
Well,
it so to speak.
yep,
And I'm sure we
yep,
could invest in people who have disabilities in that way. The other
right.
thing I want to say, religious has played a great part in the way we look at disability because
Mm.
I encounter this in incidents when people have problems where they need to have amputations. They'll tell you, no, I don't want to have an amputation. I want to go back to
Right.
the Lord with all my body parts with me. Because for some reason, if you die and you don't have your foot, you're not going to be accepted in the kingdom. These are real things that affect people
Yeah, I know, right?
in the country. And so people delay surgery and they'll die because
Mm,
they delay a simple operation that could probably save their life because of it.
mm,
And then we tend
mm,
to shut away people with disabilities and shun them and treat them
mm,
differently. I picked up a young person. I don't want to take away too much from you. 12 years old
mm,
who was dyslexic.
mm,
And all the guys, we were in the cadet band. Used to call this chap guns and he can't read, etc. And I realized he had dyslexia. So he used to come to my
right,
house and we used to try and figure out ways how we could get him to read and how we could associate words with things, with colors, etc. and so forth.
right,
I didn't
right.
have any training in dyslexia at the time and so forth. But you
Mm,
know that guy came to the United Kingdom and joined the army and they gave him
mm,
one of the same computer things there. Enhance his reading, he could read anything, he could write any
mm,
letters, he could do anything he wants to do. And he's now a
mm,
captain in the army. A captain.
mm,
Yeah.
mm,
So when you
mm.
recognize these things in people and you direct them in the proper way, they do make excellent progress. And I,
Yeah,
I
do
don't
not
take
do.
any credit for that.
All right,
You know.
Right,
stick up in,
right.
gentlemen. We got several people who are on hold, and we can get to speak to them.
Okay.
I think Bigger Biggs is on the line. Bigger, you still there?
Yes, I'm here. Guys, wonderful program as usual, eh? But
Mm,
my question, I want to know, good day to you, Truth Seeker.
yeah.
You ever heard about the term karate corners?
No, no.
Okay. Well, when that was first brought to my attention,
Mm-hmm.
I was kind of blown away because it was diagnosed by Dr. Uno, karate Uno, and I say what? And this is something that will eventually lead to blindness. And this was happening to my children, two of my children, eh? And when I found out that this thing, how severe this thing can, because it progress over time, eh? It's something like glaucoma that progress with time. And if it's left untreated, it would eventually lead to blindness. And when I found that out, that thing nearly sent me through the roof. Yeah, because if the United States, they eventually have to end up, and there's where they got some treatment. And I understand there are only 3 doctors in the world who can deal with karate konos, eh? And I am telling you, what I'm hearing here is the same thing that was happening to them, because because seriously too, because one of them was having serious problem of learning, and I was wondering what was happening. And it's like you talk about you at one time you were wearing glasses as thick as a Coca-Cola bottle. One of them had gotten to that stage that they were wearing glasses that thick, and I started to get worried. That happened, so that when the mother called me and tell me that they find somebody who could deal with them, and that time they didn't have insurance yet. It was $10,000 to get the operation done on them, that they could start to wear contact lenses, because these lenses had to be made specifically for them. And I'm telling you, what I'm hearing here coming out here now, vision is not something to be played around with. You know what I mean? So Max,
and I'm glad you said that. I'm glad you said that,
Max.
Bigger. Thank you so much. I'm glad that you said that, because one of the things that we have to come to grips with, whether we have visual impairment or not, or whether we have a normal eyesight, quote unquote normal eyesight, is our vision runs our life. I don't think a lot of people understand how dependent we are on our sight. I remember telling somebody, explaining it to somebody not too long ago. I said, when you go into a restaurant, you go into a Chinese restaurant, for example, and you look up at the different menu options and they have the pictures. More often than not, you would choose something off the menu because it looks good to eat.
Yes, exactly.
It looks delicious. You don't even taste it yet.
Yes,
exactly. When you get into a relationship with a woman, where does it start? You look at her, she's beautiful, she's approachable, and this is another thing that people with visual impairment, have to struggle with that, because we lack that spatial awareness. You having a conversation with a woman, a young lady, and she's telling you the nicest thing, but you can't see the expression on her face.
McArthur,
Yes, sir.
yeah.
Yes, sir.
Now you say that. One, let me just say this. I watched a documentary the other night. It was a blind person, a blind woman, and a gentleman was trying to date her. He just fell in love with her. And she said, well, he said, well, you don't know how I look. She asked him to describe him. So he described himself, what he looks like and so forth and whatnot. And he was a very good looking man, but he described a kind of not so good looking feature to her, And she said, let me touch your face. And she ran her hands over his face, and she started playing with a little computer that she has, and she actually drew his feature,
a composite of its face. Wow.
And she asked her, is that what you look like? But it was done in kind of braille like.
Yes.
But you could have touched it and actually see it. She said, well, you give me a wrong description of yourself. That was fascinating.
Can't
But it
trick
was
me.
true.
Yep.
It was a documentary
Yep.
about blind people and things that
Yep.
fascinating things that they do and can
Yep.
do.
Yep.
Yeah,
And you know,
I remember my grandmother used to scrape the size of coins. In effort for her to know
yes,
what coin she's holding, she would turn it on its side
we do the
and
same
rub
thing
a
up here too.
fingernail in it.
Yeah.
Yes, yes.
Okay,
Yes. Yes.
okay.
And you know, the whole discussion about the importance of vision, and I think I got the sense of bigger realizing the magnitude of loss that his children would have suffered. Right? Had they gone and lost their vision, the kind of challenges that they would have had to face. And I applaud him for acting very swiftly
And
to
Matt, and
rectify
that's the
that.
reason why I am so close to Carla, because Carla don't even know that he indirectly helped me to raise that $10,000 from Phoenix Kitchen right there. Right from Phoenix Kitchen. Carla didn't realize that. But he helping me to push those advertisements. We were able to raise that $10,000 because when the mother was saying, because send you could send, even buy from it, I said no, I don't want us to go down that road. That is not us. And I fought like hell, Mark, just to make sure my children them vision get corrected. And that's the reason why that day when I told them that one of the second best investment I ever made after giving them the education was rubber. Because she said, no, daddy. When you pay that money for us to get retain our site, that is the second best. Rebecca come to us. Yep.
Right.
So Mark, I'm
Because
so happy
the
here in
point
this
is,
program here today. People don't know
thank you, Bigger.
people don't know the pain they're going through sometimes.
Yep.
So let me tell you in case anybody want to call, brothers.
All right.
It's a wonderful job again, eh?
Thanks,
Okay,
man.
Carl.
Thank you, Bigger.
Take care. All right.
See, the point is, Carl, right? When you lose your vision, you lose a significant portion of your life, right? That you have to fight, in many cases, tooth and nail to regain. You lose your sense of independence. You lose your sense of self. And in some instances, your sense of worth is even challenged. But thank God, I found myself in the United States. As I said, the resources are astronomical. I got to go to school, and I'm proud to say, as I said, I started school as if along there, the students were really, really gracious. I mean, I'm talking about young, middle-aged, and old, right? To the point where I graduated with honors with my bachelor's. And then I went on to do my master's at Brooklyn College. I did my bachelor's and my master's at Brooklyn College. I graduated within the top 5 of the class at Brooklyn College, the class of 2019 at Brooklyn College. And this was no easy accomplishment, you know. I would always say to other people who are visually impaired or who may be suffering from, who may have a disability, is your attitude determines your altitude. Your outlook in life determines how far you go in life. And this is not just for people with disabilities. It's for everybody out there. Right? When I went to school with a purpose, to the point where my ex-girlfriend was saying, boy, and she used to see how upset that I got when my grade dropped below an A. He said, boy, you're always shine with these A's, eh? And I said, well, I mean, I have to set a bar for myself. I can't set it lower than I think I could achieve. I have to set it to a point and work towards that. You know? And, you know, to go back to answer Doc's question, I am working with the city of New York, and my work is just computer-based. I process violations for the Department of Social Services, because the Department of Homeless Services comes under them. And when people who are in shelters and so on report violations, whether it's rodent infestation, roach infestation, or hazardous material being present, They call 311. The city records that. Sometimes the city takes them to court, and so they keep a record of all of those violations. So I go into the database and I prepare those violations for my immediate supervisor.
So that
I know. I think they should invite you to cabinet meetings. But Ron Bailey.
that's a perfect example of
Yes, sir.
disability
Yes,
not being
sir.
an inability.
Yep, exactly.
Ron Bailey.
Hi, Rev. How you doing?
Yes, sir. I'm there. Hello,
Yeah.
gentlemen. Great program again. Great story there, Mac. And I just want to make a comparison, boy. It's thank God for America with all its ills, boy. America, thank God for developed countries.
Oh yes.
You know what I'm saying, Mac? If you had never left St. Vincent, you were done. You know what I'm saying? Early, right? You agree?
Without a doubt. Without a doubt.
Yes.
Yeah.
And the American, was the law? So the Disabilities Act, the full name of it.
Yes.
I mean, we
the
thank
ADA,
God for that
the American
because
with
the
Disabilities Act.
government here has literally created the environment for disabled people to live normal as they can. Even
That's right.
even
That's right.
the sidewalks, the curbs are made in such a way that you could ride up a wheelchair or something. So, and even to get in the bus, you have priorities and so on. St. Vincent
Yeah, the
needs
buses
some
they
attention
call
where that is concerned. Huh?
Yeah, they call the buses kneeling buses because the buses can
Kneeling
actually lower
buses, and
to
sometimes
the
the
level
driver
of the
has to come out
sidewalk.
and get
Yeah.
you in, you know. But I remember when I was in Bible college in Trinidad, I was in my early 20s. One of our classmates from Marval, Trinidad, used to wear those thick glasses. I mean, I'm saying this out of guilt now. And you know, we were praying for his sight. You know, one of the guys lay hands on him and calling his sight back, and he stopped wearing his glasses. And the man used to walk into walls. You know. And we were studying Greek as well, Greek vocabulary, and the Greek word for a blind man was tophlos. You know, like Bartimaeus was called tophlos, and we started calling the guy tophlos. You know what I'm saying? In the Caribbean, we could be very cruel, and I don't. That's not necessarily encouraged in America, but in the Caribbean, we still do that kind of foolishness, and make fun of
Foolishness
people's
indeed.
disabilities. So I'm hoping this program today would help us to adjust our attitudes. And one thing, I used to spank my kids for two things. But one, guessing. You don't if I'm taking you up with your schoolwork, and you're guessing, you get lashed for that. Never tolerate guessing.
Right.
Another thing I used to spank for is laughing at people when they fall and stuff like that. We like to laugh when people fall down. I can't be laughing at people's calamity, So we need an attitude adjustment to peoples with disability, and I'm glad that even teachers are able to go to the college, and still get your education there. So God bless, man. And you're one of the better spokespersons. You're one of the better spokespersons on talk radio, man. Your diction, your English,
Most definitely, not one of the best.
Thank you.
Yeah.
He really is. He really is. That's what we gotta give him.
All right.
Okay,
All right.
gentlemen.
Somebody on the local line. Good afternoon. You're live.
Yes, good afternoon, Doug. Good afternoon, Carla.
Good
Yeah,
afternoon.
good afternoon.
Yeah, this is Conroy Huggins.
All right.
First time calling on the program, but I've been an ardent listener since you've been doing this program.
Okay.
And just want to say to you how impactful this program is and has been. Just Friday, Ben Exeter and we were in Layou, and we were doing some walkabout, right? And for those who do not know, I am the candidate for the NDP for the next elections.
Okay. Well, welcome.
Yes.
Yeah.
And after we visited several homes in Layou, I told Ben, it was already dark. I told Ben I need to see Mr. Hazelwood. I just had to see that man. So, because it was something I decided before candidate was announced. I know he was always calling in and asking, when are we gonna get somebody for Central Leeward? When are we gonna get somebody for Central Leeward? So I decided
anytime I go into Layou, I have to go and visit this man. So
Right.
Ben took me there, but then Ben had to leave because it was a bit later, and then I told him I'll stay. And he and I had, great conversations, and the things that he told you about the playing field, he gave me that whole history. But I was just
Right.
amazed as to his physical body. For a man who says he's 90 years old, he does not look anything of a 90-year-old. Right? That really, really struck me. But his conversation and, the kind of encouragement that he gave. But listening to the program this morning, I was really, really, really touched and impacted by all of it. And to listen to Mac and his story, I listen to him and I see him. He's an intellectual. I mean, he comes across well-spoken. But I would have never imagined that, he had a disability. And to listen to him, I'm really, really impacted. And it actually drew me out and to just congratulate you guys for the program that you've been doing Saturday after Saturday. I mean, last week with the prostate cancer, I listened to all of it with Howard and his brother, and all of you who give your take, and with Dr. Leacock. I led a movement here from 2014. Has been 10 years now, called Project Men 2020. And the idea of that, it has been to bring man into an understanding of his original intent. What was God's original intent for him? So we did things like teaching men about, his role as a husband, as a father, as a community person. And one of the things that we also did, and we did these programs throughout St. Vincent and the Grenadines, it was men's health. And we did conferences specifically addressing men's health. So when you were doing that last week, it's really, I felt good that it was coming at this level, with this level of discussion, and persons giving their own personal testimonies. And I'm certain that many men will eventually, rethink, issues as it relates to their health and to doing checks and all of that. So just wanted to call in and congratulate you guys for the great work you're doing, Dr. Leacock, all of you. Who are on.
If I may, is this the new candidate in Central Layou?
Yes, he did.
Yes, please, it is.
Yes.
Oh yeah, it's really, really great to meet you. I've heard a lot about you, and at some point we would certainly speak, because my heart, my soul, my navel string, everything is in Layou. And knowing that
I know that, and that's why I had to call, because I
must congratulate you also.
Hello?
Yes. Mac, you're going in and out. Mac, your audio going in and out.
Ask him to repeat what he said.
Oh Lord, we lost everybody. It seems like we lost everybody on the something with the internet. It's thinking of coming back.
Repeat.
Mac, seems like we lost the audio.
Are you hearing me, Doug?
I think he's gone completely now.
I'm hearing you, but I'm not sure. With the other guys are connected via the internet. I'm not sure if they. Mac, can you hear me?
Hello.
I'm hearing Dr. Leacock. Dr. Leacock, I'm hearing you.
Yeah.
We had like the.
I believe that he is.
Yeah, I think we lost Mike.
His rapport. Let me just say good morning to Conroy, and welcome.
Yes.
Welcome to Nice Radio.
And congratulations on your appointment. Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you, Dougie.
It's not an appointment.
Nice Radio.
It's a selection.
But not just that. Conroy, as he said, since I think it's 2008, I can't remember, but he has always been promoted Project Men 2000, which is a good program dealing with men. And I congratulate you on that program for over the years that you, and we helped to promote that on Nice Radio.
Yes. Nice Radio held us live. You carried all of our press releases. You carry everything for us every time. Even at that time, you did not even know who I was.
No, I didn't know who you were. I just responded to your request, and
Yeah,
I
we
didn't
really
know who you
appreciate
were
that.
at the time.
All right. We seem like I see Mark is having problems coming in. Doug, let me. Mark is trying to come in on the WhatsApp. So let me bring him in there. All
Could
right.
I close out? Could I close out, Carlisle? Because I expect my daughter, and I want to be ready.
All right. Cool.
So could I close?
Yeah,
I will
sure. Oh,
listen
I met your
outside.
grandson.
Let
I
me.
met your grandson. Wonderful young man. He ain't look nothing like you at all. Yeah. Yeah. Go ahead.
This is
Okay,
Chutney
so
son, is it?
Carla, I will clear the line from my end.
Okay.
If Matt gets back in and he wants to interact, I'll be willing to call back.
Okay. Great. Thanks.
All right,
Thanks.
thank you.
Yeah. Yeah.
So let me bow out here. Let me say thanks, guy. Let me say good happy birthday to Bex Gonzalez. Today is his day. As you know, Bex has his own medical challenges. He's been in Florida for quite some time dealing with that. Hopefully I could speak to him later. But he is today is his birthday, and I want to say happy birthday to him also. So thank you guys, Mac, and thank you for the expose, because until people you see it, even in the Christian community, the reason why people give testimony is so that other persons could be encouraged, that if one person could do that and be brave enough to say, I had all these difficulties in my life spiritually, and here I am now doing well. Similarly, in medical conditions, we need sometimes testimonies to encourage other people to look after themselves so that they don't suffer and their family don't suffer along with them. So I want to thank you very much, guys. I will have to take a bow out from here, and I guess I'll talk to you down the road. God bless. Okay?
All right, Doug. All right. Francois, you there?
No,
Yeah,
this is
I'm here
Doug.
now. Is Max still out?
No, I think we got Mac back now. Mac, you there? Mac? All right, I'm seeing him, but I'm not hearing him.
Carla,
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah, Doug.
I was just listening there, and the it
can't
reminds
get
me, a
back in
quote
on the
came to mind there. It says, I had no shoes and I could feet. And that's why in the past, sometimes when people say, talk about your troubles, your experiences, and so on, your difficulties, sometimes I hesitate because every time you think your thing is bad, what's out there. So like just listening to this as Dougie called it, the expose from and Mr. Hazelwood, it kind of makes you feel blessed. You know what I mean? You feel like, well, things ain't too bad with you after all. You know what I mean? But in reality, it's the things that he talked about there. We have some serious issues with them on a local level. I remember just last week, Friday, a lady called in and she was talking about visually impaired people in St. Vincent. And her complaint was that some students from this special needs school there was no transportation right now at the time that she was speaking for the blind students or the visually impaired students. And sometimes when you listen to these things, you say to yourself, well, what are we doing in a country like this where we have so much of these issues on a small island like this? And people are focusing on so many of the wrong things. Like we just get things so twisted. Like our priorities get mixed up. And it's 2024. And you would think that these things would be just simple, very basic things that people could like everyday things. But they become such a challenge in the school system itself. And I've seen that where, as Dr. Lika was saying, they paint everybody in one brush. You go into the school, and if you're not doing well, then you have a problem. You're done. So you can't make it. Rather than seeing, and the strange thing is that the teachers, college itself, teaches people some of these things. They learn, they read about these things. But when they go into the classroom, it's like, you're not doing well, problem. And it's not about visual impaired or hearing impaired, it's just impairment in general. We have this kind of negative attitude towards it. And unless it changes, we will be seriously left behind.
Like I said, we're out to build
But
it.
that,
We're out to build a
guys,
decent.
I'm back in
that
it.
is also part of our colonial legacy, isn't it? Because
It is.
we were inferior, and we
It
couldn't
is.
learn because we were of a different race, and that
Yeah.
has come true and filtered through
Biological
because
determinism,
yeah,
Doc.
because when other black people now start to become educated, they then start looking at other black people who weren't as educated them as inferior. And Francois, do we do hearing screening and eye screening in schools? Because that is something. Do we have a national program? Let's say children get screened in Britain.
Right.
Every child gets screened when it's born for hearing, and then it
Exactly.
goes for its eye screening. So they pick
Yep.
these things up early. So the point I'm making is, in the colonial country now, they have moved on and they're miles ahead of us. Are we
Yep.
still behind the grasping?
Exactly.
At the end of the
Yep.
stick.
I mean, as a former teacher myself, and Francois, I'm back on. This is Matt. Thank you for jumping on. Yeah. In our educational system back home, I have a particular like sense of the challenges that students with disabilities face. And I think the person you may be talking about, Francois, who spoke about, I think the Honorable Chevron John, to her credit, has been highlighting the plight of students with disabilities, especially students who are visually impaired in our school system, right? There are certain, even simple measures that can be taken, that can take place. And before I go, there is something called the United Nations Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities. My question is this country a signatory to that? If it is so, they have solely underserved, wholly underserved persons with disabilities in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, right? Educational system, they brag about this, what they call so-called education revolution. An education revolution should encompass everyone, regardless of age, sex, gender, whatever.
But Mark, the education revolution has been something where the government talk the talk, but never walk the walk.
Yep, and the question is,
they have never put the systems and put resources behind having a proper educational revolution. It just you take all the children them and say, all right, fine, go to Farm 1, without saying, well, yeah, you could go to Farm 1, but you might have different abilities. Let us try and hone in on these different abilities and harvest the ones that are good. Try and improve the ones that are bad. When you go to Eton, right? Eton, which is the premier school in the
boys'
United
school
Kingdom.
in the United Kingdom, yes.
If you're good at mathematics, you go to the class with all the people who are good in maths. But if you're poor in mathematics, there's a separate class that you go to. And so you get focused teaching on maths. So you may be in the best mathematics class, but in the English class, you're in the poor English class because your English not good. And I thought it was such a fascinating approach to education.
Exactly.
That you teach people according to their abilities.
Because,
we have all of these scholarships that the government brag about. I have yet, subject to correction, of course, to hear of a person with a disability being awarded one of those scholarships.
Anyway, time is of the essence. Doug Howard, if you could wrap up for me, please.
Yes. Yeah, well, as you know, I sit down and I knock after the live, so that's why I call back on WhatsApp. Very good program, and I understand how Mac feel. I understand how Mr. Hazelwood feel, and all the people who has this disability with blindness, because when I grew up with my mom in Edinburgh, as you know, Carlisle, in the latter years of my mom, she was totally blind from glaucoma. And like Mac said, and like Dr. Litak said, my mom came to the United States and she tried all kind of stuff to get back her vision. She had operations, and she eventually lost her eyes, her vision totally around 2003, 2004. She go 100% blind, and she start getting glaucoma in her 30s, and she lost her sight some in her 60s, and it's one of those hereditary hereditary diseases or stuff like that. It's very hereditary. So that's why, as Dr. Lick said, you gotta go and get your pressure checked in your eye regularly. Me and my brothers, and so on and so forth. So we have some challenges. It's not something that we could change, but because of the technology and the modern medicine, so on and so forth, if you go and you get checked early, it has some prolonged things to help you. Some people cannot be prolonged. Just like our topic last week and week before, and this topic here with blindness, it goes to show that when you go to the doctor, you have to get a full physical, including hearing, speech, and um, um, and everything else, eyesight, everything else. You have to get a total check, not just go to the doctor and they tell the doctor, well, I feel good for the last year, and he write you like that. You got to go and get all the physical checks. So this program was home for me with my mom, and as you know, Carlisle, um, my dad go blind in one eye. You know that,
Yeah.
and but he could see in one eye. And as you get older, these are the challenges that comes up on you. And my thing is, you have to go and get your physical check regularly, because in modern medicine, you have health, and Dr. Leacock is a testimony to that. And with that, I say, great program. Thank you, guys.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Blessings, Doug.
Thank you, Dr. Leacock.
Yeah, so just a quick thing. Mark,
Mm-hmm.
you have some otoliths in your ears, some little stones like in your ear, and I hear you complain about dizziness. Sometimes they shift. And if you go to an ENT specialist, sometimes by manipulating your head, you
Mm-hmm.
know, they will probably get the otoliths back in place and it may take away a dizziness and maybe something you could check out.
Okay,
Because,
will do.
the semicircular canals in your head, it is a fascinating thing. It's got three sets of semicircular canals, all at
Mm-hmm.
right angles to one another. That's so
Mm-hmm.
that no matter how you put your head, you will retain your sense of
You
balance.
retain your balance.
Yes?
Yes.
So
Yes.
they have these little things in the otoliths
That's why
inside
when
it.
you spin
Yeah.
around and then you stop,
Yep.
you see like the wall. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yes,
yeah,
so
yeah,
your otoliths
yeah.
might have shifted. But
Yeah.
quickly, retinitis pigmentosa, in case people think, well, this is
Mm.
something that you inherit. It could be what you call autosomal dominant, that is your father give you a part and your mother give you a part.
Yeah,
But it could
yeah.
also be autosomal recessive, where one of
Mm.
your parents carry it. But
Mm.
it's related to the XX. It could be also X-linked. So
Mm.
if your father have a daughter, he'll give it to his daughter. But the
Mm.
mother can give it to sons and daughters.
Like my
Ju-
mom.
Yes. And so it comes down the family line. That's just to say.
Mm.
I have
Mm.
had to had cataract removed myself out of
Mm.
my right eye, and I have one in my left eye.
Mm.
I've got glaucoma. Both of my parents went blind. My father
Mm.
went blind, and my mother went blind in the latter years, and so forth. So I have an annual check for glaucoma. So I think the word that should come out here about people get is go and get, if you have parents or children who are wearing glasses, etc. When I told my parents I wanted to wear glasses, they didn't believe me that my eye was going. And so, oh, you want to be like a big brother Sinclair who was wearing glasses. I really didn't
Mm.
want to because I hated glasses. I still do.
Mm.
So I'm saying to people, if you have visual things, indicators in your family, go and get that check. Go and think. So just today I booked my annual glaucoma check, which would be on the
Mm.
24th of October,
Mm.
right? And so I am encouraging people to do that. I don't want to get my little caveat about ovarian cancer loss because it is a deadly disease that sneaks up upon our women. And I
Right.
mentioned it earlier in the program. Please, if you think you're getting fat and you're a woman and you're not eating a ton loads of things and so forth, go and see a gynecologist. Ask them just to send you for a scan for your ovaries to see that the ovaries ain't doing something other than it's supposed to do. You might have fibroids in the uterus as well and so forth. It may
Mm.
save your life. So that's
Mm.
my closure for today.
Thank
Alrighty.
you, Doc.
Captain Mark.
Yes.
Fran,
First of all, Carl.
I do remember Francois was here. Francois?
Oh
Yeah,
yes,
yeah.
yes.
Yeah. So well, again, it's very enlightening there by Mark, and I just hope that we keep doing what we're doing here, keep enlightening and educating the people. All right.
Right.
But I would like to say to our people, to the Vincentian public, because we're doing this with that in mind, educating and uplifting them.
Yes.
That they demand more from their leaders, rather than just paying the lip service, as Dr. Leacock said, and just doing things for political mileage. Let us hold them to the task and make them do better.
Right.
Because there's a thing that they do right now in the school system where they just take students from the school for children with special needs, send them to the regular schools. They call it inclusiveness or something like that. And they don't have the facilities to deal with them. So rather than help, they actually hurt the children more because they get lost in the system. They don't have the teachers there who could teach the students, and the students cannot cope. And eventually, by Form 2 or 3, most of them fade out, right? So we just have to, keep them to the task and let them not just do things for political mileage, but things that would benefit our children and our future by extension.
Well said, my friend. Well said.
Captain Mac.
Carl, thank you, guys.
Just before, could I call it very quickly say, an audiometer is not an expensive tool. There's no reason why we can't have an audiometer and have a national screening program for hearing in the country.
Right, exactly.
It's not an expensive tool at all. It's a simple piece of equipment. Right? That we could think. And it's these days computerized, it'll tell you exactly what is the problem with hearing. Right? And of course, vision is the other thing. So I think we need a national program for children.
Yes, we do.
To have a check, hearing check, and visual check. It shouldn't be that mommy and daddy have to do it. It should be a national thing, and that is government. We have the money and the resources that we could do that because we waste a lot of money doing a lot of things.
Right.
Thank you, Doc. Captain.
Carl. Thank you for the opportunity to share my experience.
Thank you. You're an inspiration to us all.
Welcome.
Yes.
Thank you. The reason why I did this, and I know this was the primary reason behind you doing this too, is to sensitize the Vincentian public or the listening audience as a whole about the plight of people with disabilities, including persons who are visually impaired. And, it is not easy to lose your vision, but it is a survivable experience, as testified to by myself and Stuardie and perhaps others. My reason behind this is because since I lost my vision, I have become an outspoken advocate for people with disabilities, especially people who are visually impaired. I served on the 2 disability clubs in the 2 colleges that I attended here, both as vice president and treasurer. And we have done quite a lot of work. And so what I want to appeal to our listening audience, especially the people living in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, do not treat people with disabilities with disdain. Do not ridicule them. Do not think that they are less than you. They are, in fact, human beings. They are family members, they are mothers, they are fathers, they are sisters, they are aunts. Treat them with dignity. And this is something that we have been fighting for and we would continue to fight for, to be treated with dignity by the quote-unquote normal world. And trust me, as a person with a disability, the quote-unquote normal world is not so normal at all, it turns out to be sometimes, right? And another thing that I also want to wrap up by saying, do not feel sorry for us. We don't want you to feel sorry for us. We want your empathy. We want your care. We want your love. We want your embrace. So I appeal to my fellow Vincentians. If your neighbor is a person with a disability, check on them, him or her, from time to time. Treat them with the same dignity and love and care. Because as Vincentians, we have a duty of care for each other in our community, right? And to the government, listen, it is not a good idea to take a person with a disability and just put them into the mainstream of the educational system like that without providing them with the necessities that will allow them because under the UN convention, define something as what they call reasonable accommodation. And what that really is providing accommodation to a person with a disability that brings them up to the same level as a person without a disability, whether you're in the school environment, you're in the work environment, etc., etc. Here in the United States, that is also covered with the Americans with Disabilities Act, which came into being in 1990 and then was revamped in 2008. So we are legally protected. What I would like to see in St. Vincent is a version of the Americans with Disabilities Act. For example, we might call it the St. Vincent and the Grenadines Persons with Disabilities Act. And it would provide a legal framework and a legal protection for persons with disabilities from being discriminated against, whether in everyday life, in their work life, in their school life. And these are some of the things that I would like to say. But in the interest of time, I will just wrap up here. And Carl, permit me to just extend birthday greetings to my wonderful friend. And as a person with a disability, she does not see that. My friend Miranda Momo Peniston, originally of Peniston, Vermont area. She living in New York. She is my right hand. The young lady would do anything for me. And today is her birthday. I want to wish her a happy, blessed, wonderful, uplifting birthday. Momo, I hope you enjoy your birthday. And of course, to the wonderful people of Layou. And let me say, when I came home in 2012, first time as a person with disabilities, I was welcomed by my people in Layou. I felt a little bit of an angst about that coming down. But when I came down, my anxieties were displaced by the love that I received in Layou. So that's why Layou would always be number one for me. Layou strong always. Blessed love, everybody.
All right. Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right. Now there's one more magic I want to create for the day. Let me see if it can happen. Wow. Last night I was looking at a movie.